So what are you doing here, Kurt?
Stippling the background. We have a checkered and carved stock. Off between the cards of leaves and such. We have some blank areas which lowered so to raise the leaves up. But when you do that, you'll never be able to get them perfectly as flat and smooth as you can on the rest of the stock by using a sanding block that you can't get in there with something like that. So the accepted method for many years is to stipple these areas. And the stippling is simply giving it a texture, and they can be anything from little squares or dots or dents or dimples or pointy holes, just something that throws a texture to it. And when done, and the light's on it, and it's all finished and oiled up, it gives lots of little shine and reflection like around this. So this one I've already done it, and then I added oil, and I did that just to be sure that I had the lettering and stuff carved out close enough. And I'll have to give that a closer look again, but for now I'm just going to finish the rest of this, and then I'll examine that, and then if everything's okay, I'll brush in really vigorously a extremely thin coat of oil, because in the stippling process, you're just barely making a little dimple there. But a lot of times you're going to accidentally get just slightly deeper, and now you've broken the skin of the oil covered skin, and it'll look like it. See, I have a spot here that I've done. Well, here you can see it just looks lighter, this area, and that's because on the edges of the stippling, it has kind of broken the finish. The dark oiled finish. Now once I brush oil in again, then it should look a little more like this. And it brings back the darkness, and also again protects the wood like it's supposed to, or the oil, by sealing it from the moisture.
So stippling is typically done after you have all your finish applied?
Yeah, usually it's the last thing you do. I say that, and yet after I'm done stippling, I like to give it one more fine, really fine coat of brushing it really in there. And you got to be careful because it's so tiny little dents. You don't want to fill them with oil or something. So I mean, I'll take a finger and I'll rub and wipe it out as much as possible, and then I use the toothbrush just to make sure I got in all the nooks and crannies, and then wipe it out. And you're going to always end up with a little bit of a film, and that's all you want in there. But in the stippling process too, you want to watch out. You notice here I just went off on my own on a different line. You don't want it to look like a series of rows of dots.
You want to avoid geometric patterns.
It should look totally random and scattered.
Okay.
And it's one way to do that I found out is that I'll just take off on a line, but make a curve and turn a little bit this way and that. And I'll do that several times, and then I have fields. Now, just in order to fill the field with dots, I try to get them all touching, and once in a while you accidentally overlap, and that's okay. But they'll come out random. The other place that you're going to have a problem with is when you're going right along the edge, like here. I have to make a series of dots right along. Well, it's going to want to look like a line, and a way to avoid that is you can make several close and then deliberately leave a little bit of bigger gap, every once in a while. And then when the second row comes out, one can kind of go in between, halfway into between, and breaks up that solid line look. So actually, I dimple a bunch of little lines to break it off into sections basically, and then they just go in and I'll fill in the section. And this stippling can be done with almost any type of texture you like. I've done some that looked okay with the tip of a jeweler's Phillips screwdriver. And I kind of take the point off so it doesn't go so deep. But it leaves you little X's, little crosses on there. And it kind of looks nice. I mean, everyone just has its own look and a matter of taste. And as you're stippling too, you'll discover that all of a sudden you tap once someplace and boy, it didn't want to go in. It's a little bit harder. The grain just varies constantly. So when you run into it, you just go back and give it another wrap. Make it deepen it if you need to, or
You're looking for a uniform dot size, or kind of within a certain bracket, or
generally, mainly uniform coverage. You like it to be just touching all the dots. And like I say, even if they have to overlap, it's better than to leave too big a gap.
but to
when
me,
when you think you're done there, you just back out view from a little bit of a distance, and if it looks nice, sometimes you'll see there's almost like a line going through it of uncheckered. It's quite thin, but it's going to go in between a bunch of the dots. Well, then if you just put one on those lines here and there, else it disappears. You don't want to ever appear there's a pattern or a line going through it of checkering or of stippling rather, or of unstippled wood. You don't want to. It should just look like random but pretty saturated coverage. And when you're doing something like that, or you have a spot that, oh, that's a little spot there, a little too big to be uncheckered, but it's too small to really put a full dimple in there. Just make a gentle dimple in there so it's slightly less deep. And like I say, the eye gets lost in the vast number of dimples there are. And then we end up with something like, oh, the texture of a grain of leather or something, you know. It's grainy, but nobody picks out each little spot and pixel on the thing, you know. So that's stippling.
well, thanks for the quick look, sir.
Try to step, but she hits me, disassembles my leg. So I went to the doctor and he gave me a leg. Now she waits, slumber, Mr. Dreaming, playing. Hope that she kills instead of leaving with me. Cause she's a minefield, she'll watch your body from your soul. Minefield, leave a big smoking hole. Minefield, please don't beat off my leg. Minefield, what's that little round thing over there?